Hey there, Phyllis here. This video is going to be on a Torment 10 speed farm build using the Unhallowed Essence set for the Demon Hunter. So it's maybe a familiar build, but it's tuned and optimized for Torment 10 speed farm. So you can see on the screen all the skills and abilities, the cube powers, the gems, and the passives. And you'll notice we've shifted a lot of the toughness and damage into just movement speed. So we'll get into the specifics here in a minute. I just want to start out with the spec and some gameplay so you can kind of see how it goes. Basically just running around spamming multi-shot, pretty straightforward. So now let's switch over to the game here, and I can show you the set if you're not familiar with what it does. You have the discipline generation, hatred generation, damage increase, damage reduction, and then damage increase per discipline. So you got your 6 pieces of unhallowed, and then quickly I'm just going to kind of touch base on some of the other complementary items that you might not normally run, but we're using for Torment 10 speed farm, and that is the gold wrap and the Warzeshian bracers, as well as the nemesis. Now you could wear nemesis and cube the Warzeshian, it could go either way, it doesn't really matter, same there. The important thing is to get the movement speed from the bracers here and the extra champions from the shrines. It's going to help you spawn the Rift Guardians sooner because the elites are worth a lot of progress, so that's good value there. So let me just kind of talk about the idea of the build and what's going on here. So it's a standard multi-shot setup with a little addition. So we have the Boon of the Hoarder combined with the gold wrap as well as the Avarice band. And what this is going to do for you, it's going to give you effectively infinite toughness. As long as you're killing monsters, they're dropping gold. As long as you're picking up the gold, you're getting armor and pickup range every time you pick up the gold. So your pickup range is just massive, and your toughness is just crazy, and you're just running around. And the reason the pickup range is really nice is the progression orbs from elites. Whenever elites die, they're going to drop orbs that give progression to complete the rift to spawn the guardian, and their pickup is affected by pickup range. So the more pickup range you have, the easier those are they're just going to scoop up as you're going through. You're not going to have to backtrack to get the globes and waste time doing that. So that's really key. That helps a lot for Torment 10. Definitely going to want to do that. That's going to make your rift clears much faster. And then obviously the nemesis to spawn extra elites. Again, to give you those progression orbs to get to the guardian sooner. Everything else is pretty standard. Unhallowed Essence multi-shot build. You got your Yang's Recurve, Dead Man's Legacy, Hellfire Amulet, Focus and Restraint, and then your unhallowed pieces. Now we can talk about the skills and abilities, and I'll kind of explain why we're using these and what's going on here. So Evasive Fire here with Focus for the 7 hatred generation, as well as the instant travel time. Rock your focus instantly. This one works the best. You can use Hungering Arrow because it homes and seeks the monsters, so it will always proc, assuming there's a monster around, but Evasive Fire is just as well. Here we have Multi-Shot Arsenal. This is going to be standard for the damage with ballistics, which I have on my Hellfire Amulet. And then we have Vault, Tumble for the mobility, Wolf just for the ease of damage increase, Vengeance with Seethe for the hatred, and then Preparation and Invigoration for the discipline increase for damage. And Seethe is also, Vengeance is also giving you damage. And then for the passives, as I mentioned earlier, we're kind of shifting all of the survivability and damage into utility and movement speed. So here we have Blood Vengeance for mostly the discipline generation. As you're vaulting around like a madman, you do kind of drain your discipline pretty quickly, but as you kill elites, they spawn health globes. This is going to give you discipline back, as well as casting your generator and your cooldown invigoration. You pretty much will just always have full resources. Not to mention the hatred that you get from this as well. It's going to have you at full resources all the time. Tactical advantage for the movement speed, typical. Hot pursuit as well, just more movement speed. And then we have ambush here just for the insane burst damage. The first time you hit the monsters, you're basically one-shotting things on Torment 10. They're going from full health to dead very, very quickly. So you get really good value out of ambush. And then ballistics as well. Here, again, standard setup for the Multishot arsenal. Now I'm going to talk about the itemization and the stat priority. So I kind of already glanced over some of the unique items for this build. And for Torment 10, itemization is very flexible. It doesn't really matter. You can drop a lot of toughness and pick up a lot more resource reduction or damage increase, things like that, area damage potentially. I mean, Torment 10, again, it's pretty easy, pretty face roll, so it's not too important what you have. For this setup, like pretty much all Demon Hunter setups in 2.4, it is a good idea to go ahead and just get 100% uptime on your Vengeance, because we are running the Dawn and the Cube. Really easy to get your 100% uptime on Vengeance with only around 37 cooldown reduction. So if you want to get that, you can. You don't actually need 100% uptime in a Torment 10 situation, but it's like so easy to get, you might as well just have it. And then after that, again, and the rolls are all the same. You got your crit chance, crit damage, some vitality here and there, hatred regen on the chest. The important thing here is that you have your discipline on your weapon, your cloak, and your quiver. And then, your standard roll crit chance on the helmet. You could even go for multi-shot damage on the helmet because it is Torment. Don't really need the toughness there. You might as well take the multi-shot, but it's kind of same. On the necklace, you would prefer the dexterity to be your fire damage. And over here we have the fire damage crit chance on the bracers. Dual crit on the rings. I have cooldown reduction here on this ring, getting me to that 100% vengeance. And I'm using vitality on the weapon. Again, not really making a big difference here. I could switch that over to something else. And then on the rest of the armor, you just get your toughness modifiers. And then you got multi-shot on your boots as well. Good chance, multi-shot damage, cooldown on the quiver. Yeah, pretty typical rolls. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the legendary gems. I kind of already mentioned the Boon of the Hoarder. Here we also have Zay's Stone of Vengeance and Bane of the Powerful. So you notice we're not using Bane of the Trapped as we don't have a reliable trigger whenever you're speed farming Torment 10. Unless you want to use Thrill of the Hunt, which is kind of a waste of a passive because you don't really need the damage. So we don't have an active slow to proc Call of the Weak and Bane of the Trap. So we're not actually using Call of the Weak or Bane of the Trap. Instead, we're taking advantage of Bane of the Powerful and Zays here, which are just going to be, standard damage as soon as you hit the monsters. You don't have to worry about them being slowed. You're just always getting that increase. Boon of the Hoarder for the movement speed, as well as the toughness, and the constant trigger for the pickup range on the Avarice Band. So you need to be picking up gold all the time to make sure that the Avarice Band is at full stacks, so you have huge pickup range to get the orbs when you kill elites. That's legendary gems. Now I'm just going to glance over the paragon points. Again, this is really standard stuff. Get your movement speed to 25, dump it into primary stats. Here you want to get your cooldown to have 100% vengeance, and then after that, with the quiver, the crit damage is usually stronger, and then crit chance, and then attack speed last. Here, bottom to top, skipping life regen, and then here, resource reduction, area damage, it hardly matters, whatever, Torment 10's easy mode. So that's the whole setup, and now I'm going to just kind of show some more gameplay, and I'm just going to kind of talk about how to play the build and some general tips. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not very complicated. So here we go. You don't have to worry about Teguk, obviously. So you're just kind of casting your companion and your vengeance on cooldown, so you can numlock those and auto cast that, and then Yeah, I mean, you're just running around, keeping your focus and restraint. Mostly just the focus. The restraint, obviously, when you spend, it's going to be up, but you have to make sure that you cast Evasive Fire once every 5 seconds. Sometimes you don't even have to do that. I did consider dropping focus and restraint, but you don't want to lose too much damage because then Torment 10 is going to end up being a little slow. You want it to be really fast, so I do feel like focus and restraint's worth having here. Just a lot of damage, and there's nothing else that you're really going to put there to add more value than that. So, and whenever you are trying to maximize your damage, you want to stay at range because you are using the Zay's Stone of Vengeance. And then other than that, you're just running around spamming Vault, spamming Multishot, killing stuff. And you can see here part of the reason why I have the Gold Wrap and the Boon of the Hoarder combination. It's really nice whenever you hit a Molten pack. Then you can loot the Death Breath and just face tank the Molten because you have such high toughness from the Gold Wrap. So really nice for that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how fast it was, but that was like the second half of that run. I'm going to show another run here just so you can kind of get an idea. These are just the first 2 runs that I did as I was recording this footage. I did time some runs to get an average, and out of the 10 runs that I did, the average was just over 2 minutes, which I think is pretty good. Some of the runs were closer to 3 minutes, and a couple of them were actually like 1.5 minutes, so it's pretty good. Some of the key things, as I mentioned, are just the Avarice Band for the pickup range to get the progression orbs so you don't have to backtrack. Nemesis Bracers for the extra elites. It's going to get you to the Guardian sooner. Little things like that. And you know, the Gold Wrap being able to loot the Death's Breath and not have to wait on the Molten Explosion, just face tank the Molten Explosion. All these things are going to shave off, you know, moments of your Rift clear, and over the course of a few hours, it's going to add up where your average clear is going to be a bit faster than otherwise. And this will be one of the first builds, if not the first build, that I'm going to be looking at kind of optimizing whenever Season 5 starts. Because it's a solid build to have for low to average difficulty speed farm. And you're going to be doing a lot of that throughout the season, so it's going to be a solid investment. You know, the loot and the materials that you're using to re-roll the loot, it's not going to go to waste. You're definitely going to spend a lot of time playing this kind of setup. So yeah, it'll probably be the first build that I go for in Season 5. And it's really fluid. I mean, you can see my resources are pretty much full all the time. Every now and then, when there are no elites and I'm not getting health globes, I might have to use preparation and invigoration to get my discipline back up. But I mean, it's pretty smooth. The gameplay, very fluid. You don't have to worry about resources again. That was me. You'll notice I'm like only looting the Death's Breaths when they have Molten, just because, I mean, this is a PTR, so that's why there's so much loot. It's also why I'm not inspecting any of the loot. I'm just kind of demonstrating the value of the Gold Wrap to allow you to get your Death's Breath through the Molten Explosion. It's pretty nice. And yeah, I mean, that's the end of the Rift here. So that was a pretty decent run. The first floor was okay, but the second map was pretty nice. So I'm sure that was a pretty quick run. And that's pretty typical for the runs. You know, sometimes you'll get a really bad map and it might take 3 minutes to clear the Rift, 3.5 minutes. But on average, most of the runs are like 2 to 3 minutes. So it's pretty quick. Good speed for Torment 10. That'll do it for this video. Hope this helps you guys to help increase your Torment 10 efficiency. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.